All right. Welcome back, everybody, from our weekend excursion to San Antonio. We are closing in on the end of October. Can you believe it? And let's see, I guess today is the 27th of October. I'm hearing and seeing an awful lot of activity. I'm being involved in a lot of ABC calls, all of which I guess are the result of renewed focus and commitment on objectives, particularly those objectives that are key to this month, given our double PV promotion. So I know that many of you are striving to break some silvers this month, which certainly lends to the Team Kaizen scenario. I myself have 3 prospects for silver this month. I wish I would have had a better understanding of this concept at the beginning of the month rather than in mid-month and then going straight into the San Antonio event. So that was not a great way to focus, but hopefully many of you were smarter than me and have gone in the right direction on this. Michelle, you have a question or a comment?
I do have a question. I'm just on hold with Nikan, and she's telling me, because I think Rhonda has gone silver, but she's telling me that if she went executive last month, that volume cannot count towards her silver run.
Well, that's not correct. No, it's not correct, because I spoke to Mario, Jeff, and Pat.
Okay, right? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, because if they're going silver, they're going to go executive along
the compensation plan isn't being subverted by this promotion. It's being enhanced.
Exactly. Well,
there's some background music I'm hearing from somewhere. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
It's
if you could just
me. I'm on hold with Nikan.
Okay, all right.
But what she's saying, it has nothing to do with the incentive this time. What she's saying is she can't accumulate over 3 months. If she goes executive, then it starts all over again the next month.
Well, clearly you're dealing with somebody who doesn't understand our compensation.
I just wanted to make sure that I understood it.
Yeah, hey, Michelle, you understood it.
Whoever that person is, you should tell Jeff that.
Yeah, you get their name. They need an education.
I've got their name.
Well, let's stay on track here, guys. Thanks. I know there's lots to talk about. And Bernadette, please feel free to jump in to keep me on track. I did want to address some of the issues that have confronted me over the last week with respect to the event. I hope you guys all got something from the event, and again, judging from the level of activity and commitment, it looks like everybody's excited, and the purpose of all these events, most importantly, is to bring our level of commitment up. Decisions are made, and I know many people. By the way, it was me who I made my decision in San Antonio. So you want to have made some kind of a decision, regardless of how long you've been in the business, because our life cascades from the decisions we make. And so whatever decision you made in San Antonio, and if you still haven't made what you consider a firm decision, to cut off all other possibilities, then, reflect on what you gained from the experience and make that decision so that this month, next month, and every month thereafter is an alignment to that decision, to that outcome. And for those of you who were at the Law of Attraction / Assumption presentation on Sunday, just how important it is, and to have a clear focus on what it is you want to create and get in touch with that feeling of having created it. Sherry's doing a wonderful job of sharing with us her own personal conviction and experience of that as she's applying the law. And the law knows no gender, knows no age, knows no education. It's just simply that. It's like gravity. It's a law, and it applies to everyone the same way. So we want to start doing this conscious creating as a rule, not as an accident or as a coincidence or anything like that. We want to do it as a rule. That's what I think separates this group that follows this ideology from, just simply the group that is convinced that if you spray enough stuff against the wall, something's going to stick. I mean, that's not untrue. It's just not necessarily the most, I don't know, purposeful way of doing things. So just to get some clarity about what came up, there were some obvious indicators that there was an agenda that seemed to be usurping any other agendas out there in San Antonio. And while that may be the case, and surprising to some, it really doesn't matter. In the big scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. So long as you were able to get something for yourself and your downline, or your team was able to get something for themselves that drives them in the right direction to produce an outcome. If we're going to argue over style, that's kind of a pointless argument that's been made years and years ago. It doesn't matter the style. Everybody has their own unique style. At the end of the day, the differences are far and few between. They only appear to be different. So all I want to say to that is, if you have any concerns, you can address me directly with that. The idea that maybe there's multiple agendas, and I think it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's not about who you follow, it's about who follows you. So it's not what you do, it's what you duplicate. So find the thing that's working for you, identify what's working for you, and ensure that you duplicate that with your team. And the teams that are growing and will be recognized. And so more and more attention will be drawn to the people who are succeeding and what it is that you're doing in your particular unique way. So Barbara, you have a question?
Well, it's not a question, it's a comment. So before going to San Antonio, I was feeling pulled and chaos and all of that. And I felt that there. And I came away from there with everybody has unique gifts and everybody is human and has their slips. And what it is to hold everybody in love and take the best from everyone and incorporate that the way it works best for me. And it brought to mind the exercise we do in humans being more in the circle, and you go through the different situations, and hopefully everyone recognizes that it's really love that serves everyone. And so my part is to hold that in my heart and put that out there for everyone. So
great. By the way, thanks for those of you who were in San Antonio, your attendance at the luncheon, etc. I hope you guys had a nice time there, sharing your feelings and your vibe with the team. You know, it's interesting that I saw many of you on stage when it was being called upon to draw attention to the program that Rick's running as a program that's producing results. You know, that whole thing about getting up on stage. Many of you are members of the launch partners. So you got to wonder, what was the thing that made it work for you? What worked for you that allowed you to have those results? And I can't with good intention say it was one thing or another. I can't with any honesty and integrity tell you, oh, it was because of this that you're succeeding. It's because of everything that you're getting, however you're getting it, and whatever's going inside and however you're internalizing it, and then you're turning around and actually taking action. So whatever it is that the combination of things that's making it work for you, that's what you have to attribute it to, but ultimately you attribute it to the decisions and the actions that you're taking. So that, I think, is the important thing that I come away with. I can say, oh, look at Launch Partners. They've done all this wonderful work. It's because of Launch Partners that this is happening. No, I can't say that. No more than I can say, look at my downline and how wonderful I am because my downline is so successful. It's like I'm taking credit for the actions of thousands of people who are entrepreneurs, independent, doing their own thing. I might take credit for one thing, giving birth to my business in 1991, going into 1992, and then continuing to pour gas on the flames. That I can take credit for, giving birth. But I can't take credit for what comes after that, no more than you guys can. So let's just give credit where credit is due. to the individuals who are making decisions and taking action. I did want to point one thing out. This was something that was shared with us in San Antonio, and I just wanted to bring this about because it brings back the reason and the motivation for why the Launch Partners were created in the first place. You guys saw this presentation. Hopefully you all saw this presentation by Gustavo. The key to your business is events. And he went through this of the idea of the different kinds of people that there are: consultants who do events, those who don't do events, but they have the ability to do it, and then those who don't do events at all and don't even necessarily have the ability or desire to do it. And I know you went through this with him, so I'm just touching on it. The idea of segment and true rhythm. Notice that in Latin America, they have applied the rhythm of the business. It's so much applied that the company actually uses that language and teaches the organizations the concept of the rhythm of the business. I've been most impressed with the work that they've done there, and to the degree that they produce an annual calendar. So there will be another one in 2018. I saw the 2017 calendar. The company produces it for new consultants and consultants alike, which is literally a calendar that opens up. And in that calendar are the dates that the corporation's already, that NICAN is hosting or co-hosting events for the rhythm of 2017, and then there'll be one for 2018. And then you overlay your rhythm of events. So to the degree that they actually publish material that supports the concept of the rhythm is why they believe in it. And I was in a meeting with them in Mexico City last month with the Royal Diamonds as well, the top income earners, and the managing director, Luis Casuga, and Gustavo Gomez. And one of the things that he pointed out, he showed me this presentation, but what he pointed out, and I hope you heard him say that. Let me just get to the next slide because that's where it really comes in. So these are the three types of events: ABCs, independent events, massive events. He describes what he means by that and who's really doing the events. But what he pointed out in the presentation in San Antonio and what he pointed out in the presentation in Mexico City was the independent events. It wasn't so much the massive events, but he said with the increase of independent events in Mexico particularly, they saw an explosion in volume. And he showed a comparison of the growth curve of Mexico with the growth curve of Colombia, two very strong and competing markets. And what we see is they're actually almost running parallel, and then all of a sudden Mexico just shoots up and starts to go exponential. And it's dated at a specific date, and it was when the company started to really work with the group's awareness of the need to increase independent events. That's leaders like yourselves creating events for your personal groups on a regular basis. So with the increase in the number of events, independent events, that's leaders taking an interest in their own business and hosting these events, their volume in Mexico started to increase exponentially. And so I wanted to bring that up because that's really the whole game plan of Launch Partners was to get engagement from field leaders who want to be part of an overall and collective experience. As individuals, we benefit, but as a collective, we benefit. And if we benefit as a collective, so does the corporation, so does NICAN. And so the goal of 2017 was to reorient the field primarily of people who had focused on retail activity to redevelop, since their confidence has been re-engaged because of that development of consumers and the recognition that the products do sell and there's real merit there, to take that confidence and then roll that confidence into recruitment, which, by the way, we're doing this as a team, as a collective of people who've been in NICAN. For somebody brand spanking new in the business, you can see that would be the microcosm, that some confidence in some sales will then be able to be leveraged or parlayed into confidence in going out and creating new recruits. So what we're doing on a macro level, I can see, and I hope you see, that mirroring that on a micro level is just as important. Giving somebody some early experience, some early success with the products, boosting their confidence that this in fact does work, and then turning that attention toward a launch campaign of their business. So, and then of course us, the launch partners, the work that we've been doing in 2017 to increase the number of events. And by the way, I don't know if you remember, but we have forecast in this early stages in our development, we were talking about when we would start to experience momentum. Do you remember when we talked about that? What was the predictor for when we would start to be able to see the momentum start to kick in? Well, our CEO was informed of that as well. It was Q3, third quarter of 2017. So what were we reported? We were reported that we had double digits increase in recruiting the last 2 months, which is Q3. So right on target. So however you want to attribute the successes that are happening in NECANN, doesn't matter. The point is it's working, and we need to keep putting gasoline on the fire. And the thing that is telling us from other sources, especially sources that we admire, is that the more independent events that take place, the more successful we and NECANN become. And so that's just what I wanted to say with respect to this agenda of the launch partners. So we need more events. We need more flyers being produced. And again, it doesn't really matter what the nature of your event is. It's the idea that there are events, and that creates the exposure, the impressions, and continues in our momentum. So I just want to put that out to you guys. If you've got some people that you're launching in homes and things like that, please consider generating a flyer, as it still is of no cost to you, except a little bit of time to generate that flyer. The value that it has for NECANN, for the appearance of things, as by the way, I hope after this weekend you understand just how important the appearance of things is. Not necessarily the facts, but the appearance of things certainly can influence people and situations. So we want to create a stronger appearance. We got a beautiful flyer for the fall colors. Let's get some of that happening. So there's one last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'd like Bernadette to jump in, and that is the idea of in this idea of launching somebody, when you're actually strategizing to launch somebody, to get them into the mindset, the understanding of what's different about a launch. Think this way. Think pre-IPO. Pre-IPO. IPO stands for initial public offering. So think about a stock that's about to go public. If it's about to go public, there's a window between when it goes public and when that stock is available to be purchased at a very reduced rate by the insiders. It's like insider information. It's usually a friends and family scenario. And so consider that. If you're about to go public, meaning you're launching somebody new and they're about to go public, everything up to that point is pre-IPO. So what's the energy associated with a pre-IPO? What's the dialogue associated with a pre-IPO? How much more expectation do you have that a person will engage in the information process if it was a pre-IPO situation? Meaning there's a date with destiny. It's going public. This is the date. So when you're doing a launch, in order to establish that energy, that pre-IPO concept, have a drop dead date. Have a launch date. Pick it. Decide it. This is when we go public. And so everything up until that point is your pre-IPO. And that public could be, by the way, an event that you post on the launch partners, with the launch partners flyer. So there is an actual date that you're going to open this up to the general audience. So it's like a business that's opening up in your neighborhood. There's a point that the business is going to actually officially be open. And up until that point, there may be an opportunity for people to get involved in that business. So think of it that way. You're creating a scenario that has a certain energy associated with it. It creates urgency. It creates excitement. it creates an expectation for people to go through the process well in advance of the IPO date or the drop dead date. So if you're trying to create a silver example, then you want to have a lot of exposure in a short period of time with the understanding that there's a D date, there's a decision date. There has to be a date that's associated with all the decisions are in. We know who's on the team. We know who's doing this, so that you can round out that month. And so an event prior to the end of the month is usually what I would use as a drop dead date. I would center my activities around that date, because on that occasion, and I'm just going to give you an example of my personal experience on this. So I was launching a couple in upstate, in Long Island actually it was, and I wasn't able to physically be there. So I had teed them up on how to do product demonstrations in their living room. They invited, they had 3 in-home presentations, and in those 3 in-home presentations, they played a video as the business meeting. They did the demos that they were taught, and then I called in on a speakerphone. So 3 meetings with 5 to 10 people in each meeting over the course of about 7 to 10 days, I think it was. Now, how do we close the month, get the decisions made that need to be made so that all the people exposed in that window can make a decision, and together that volume can create a silver ship? So I held a special call. That call was designed to lock in. We call it the lock-in. It's in our zigzag process. It's the star, the lock-in. We had an event. This event happened to be a conference call. Nowadays it would be a Zoom call. But what we did was, I was the A in the in-homes, so I couldn't be the A in the lock-in. There had to be another A. So I brought in a heavyweight. In this case, it was Bob Proctor. And so I had Bob be my A for the couple that I was helping go silver. And what happened was, we had 9 people on that call who were prospects for the business. And on that call, we sort of recapped, answered any questions, but the most important thing was to give them confidence in the future. And that was that I was going to come into Long Island in the following month to help launch those who made the commitment. And so what Bob then asked was, who was ready to make the commitment? And he named them. One at a time, he went around the group and asked, are you in? 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 Now, keep in mind that they already knew what it meant to be in. They knew there was an investment and approximately how much, et cetera, et cetera. So we got 9 out of 9 people who said, I'm in. In one call, all of the 3 weeks activity leading up to that, the decision was made. And in the days that followed, which was prior to the end of the month, the orders went in, and of course that couple went silver. That was a strategic launch. That's how I would do a strategic launch today. So pre-IPO concept, the idea was, we are about to go public, Mike's going to come in, and we're going to launch this business and have a host of events at the hotel for those who make the commitment. Now, that's the public, but we were pre-IPO, we needed a decision. Are you in? You want to be part of this? So if you think in those terms, you can calendar this launch. You can calendar a launch, understanding there is a public, there's a day that you go public, and then until then, it's pre-IPO. So it's an opportunity for people to get in on the ground floor of a new movement within that team that's being created. I'll give an example of this again. John, remember John, who I brought up on stage in San Antonio? Well, who'd like to be part of his team? So create a window of opportunity to expose John's contacts to John and the business opportunity, with the understanding that as of November 15th, we go live. So you got between now and November 15th to figure out if you want to be part of this. That kind of an energy, that kind of campaign can go a long way. So Bernadette, please jump in.
Sure, but I noticed that Sherry raised her hand as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead, Sherry.
Thanks. I didn't know if you could see me. Apparently my picture is messed up. I just wanted to make the comment that if I took away anything from San Antonio, it was the combination of hearing Gustavo's presentation and calling myself out that I'm not doing weekly events and need to be. You know, that middle one of you can but you're not, that was me. And also that what you said, Mike, in the lunch, about increasing the numbers of people that are launch partners. And I didn't think like that. I mean, I've included a few people when we're planning locally, but that really expanded my mind. And so Monday, I put an email together and sent it out to people that have been active and invited them to what I'm doing right now between now and the end of the year is see how many people want to have a weekly event. I'm letting them choose when it is so that then we'll get into a rhythm, and starting in January, and I like the idea of, creating, I don't know if I can do an annual one, but maybe I'll do one for a quarter of getting people that then are going to commit to doing one. Atlanta's such a spread out city that I could do them in lots of different areas, and I might have 3 in 1 week. I mean, that's okay. So I'm looking to invite them. I'm going to, I said, you're going to get your face on a very polished flyer, then you can promote it. So that really expanded. I just wanted to say that was a really great thing for me to understand. Getting my team more involved in being a launch partner is only going to put, an impetus and creating that possibility of them stepping in and being more of a leader.
Well, that's exactly, Sherry, you're so on the money. It's unbelievable. You're right on there. That is how you grow this business, because the next step for your business is to start duplicating leadership. And that means for people to step up and become independent, which means take ownership. So how can you help them take ownership? Take ownership of an event. It doesn't have to be a huge event. Let's let it be your own in-home or something like that. So it's the downloading of that responsibility. The role and responsibility of being an event host is being passed on. That's how you expand leadership. Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you for that. Bernadette.
Well, I just want to add to what you said, Mike, about the rhythm of the business. You and I, we talk about that all the time, the rhythm of the business, the rhythm of the business. And, as leaders, and particularly with this group, I think it's important to look at the events not for what we need to do on an ongoing basis, but as leaders, we want to think always ahead of the calendar in a way. It's always about looking at the future, knowing then what we need to do right now. I don't know how many of us have already worked on their calendar for 2018. I'm going to show you something. It's this. And Mike, you've seen that many times. This is my calendar. That's 2018. I've started to do that 15 years ago. And you know how it started? Because I don't know about you, but particularly many women, we have so many calendars to juggle that it was impossible. So I grouped everything on one calendar. My Nick and business, my husband's calendar, my kids' calendar, all of it. So then I had a full picture of what I was doing. So why am I bringing that up is when we look at our calendar for the next 3 months and so on, we have big events coming up that will be announced soon. It's important to put that right there and then. So then because then it's a business. We treat this as a business. Every business today, they've already done their plan for 2018. And we also need to think that way, because that also shows that the team, their structure, they're confident, they're sure we know what we're doing. And then it's not a matter of telling them 3 weeks before, oh, by the way, we have a monthly event in 3 weeks, because then we run into the problem of, oh, I'm not available. I didn't say, no, my team already has the day for all our monthly event for 2018 already. And I say, and by the way, on those months, there are going to be the big events. Don't know the date yet, but you block those months. So that's something that I wanted to also bring up, Mike, is looking, the calendar is to create our activity exactly as you said and Sherry said, but it's also about showing on paper the vision that we have and what we're creating for. And I think that's very important to build confidence and help the team build the future versus sometimes being too short-sighted.
Fantastic. That's great advice, thinking that far ahead. So really, I kind of look at as those who are positioning themselves for Diamond have a purview of the entire year. Now, it doesn't have to be a rank in Diamond, but if you're that's your goal, that's your target, or that's what you are, then you should be seeing that far out. Somebody brand spanking new, they're not going to be seeing that far out. They can only see what's given to them in terms of what are we going to focus on this week? What are we focusing on this month? I wouldn't give them too much further out than that. but somebody who's been around the business, a platinum or a diamond, you should be looking a lot further out and working backwards in terms of your plans with the big rocks first. One thing I want to mention before we wrap up, Ben is on his way with a full car to London. So he said he gives his apologies and said he's sorry he couldn't make the call, but it would be a little bit uncomfortable for all of us if we had to hear what was going on in the car. So we're okay with that. But he was very excited about the fact that we got a chance to spend some time together while we were in San Antonio, and is looking forward to the next phase. And so there's going to be some announcements coming with respect to that. But right now, the focus is let's get through this month of October with these exciting promotions. Let's see some silvers popping, because I know the CEO of this company, you know, he puts these things in place, these incentives, and he watches carefully. He wants to see that there's a response there, and he deserves that. Don't you think? We ought to give him the best that we got. So for all the right reasons, we've got something great here. We need to just get a little bit more convicted in our action plan. That's all. So with that, I hope everybody has a phenomenal, thanks for that, Dee. Remembering Julie 1 year after her tragic death. She was a spectacular human being, and in honor of her, the best that we could do is really the tribute that we give, is being the best that we can be and doing our best for the sake of the world, the people, ourselves. We're all a reflection of the Creator, so let's go out and create. Have a great weekend, guys. Have a great month end. Thank you.
Thank you.